I I've just come to realize it's so much more fun. Like, Zach and I could go play an individual stroke play around together, but we're not going to feed off each other. We're not going to vibe with each other as much. Like, we're not going to be as excited when the other person has a good shot or a good putt. Like, it just makes the game so much more enjoyable and so much more fun. Where, I mean, like we've harped on, you don't have to be perfect. I can't tell you how great it is of a feeling when you pick up your 6-footer for par because your partner knocks in a 12-footer for birdie. Like, that's awesome. Like, it just makes it so much more enjoyable, so much more fun. And from like a conversation standpoint, we always joke, it's like, you don't want to be the guy after the round that's telling everybody about your round, but it's so much more fun to be able to talk with your partner about y'all's round together, as opposed to saying like, here's what I did, here's what I did, here's what I did. It's like, remember your shot on 6, remember your putt on 12.
Welcome to The Bag Drop, Untold Stories in Golf. I'm your host, Matt Considine, here with my co-host, the professor, Dr. Moore. How are you this morning, buddy?
Doing great. Settled into the heat of summer. Ever since I moved from Ohio, I always said I can't complain about the heat, so I'm not going to complain about it and just embrace it. Love sweating. Love the fact in December I don't have to worry about snow, and I will take the 90 degrees and humidity over that every day.
I had a doorman when I lived in Chicago named Calvin, just a legend of the doorman industry. He gave, 600 tenants in a high-rise building. He said, you only get one season. And he would write down what your season was. And what he meant was, I don't want to hear you complaining about summer if winter is your season to complain. I'll only hear the complaints on the weather on one season only. I loved that. It was so cool. So he'd catch you. He'd look, he'd go, oh, no, I don't want to hear it. 95 degrees. I don't want to hear it. You're a winter guy.
I've never been fancy enough to have a doorman at my residence. Is that the equivalent?
It's
to the country
it's
club
not what
locker.
you think.
Is it the equivalent
No.
to the locker room attendant at a country club? Just this like character that just makes your life better, right? Their presence it just
the
brings
opposite.
up the
Like
quality.
it's like having a homeroom mother or something to make sure you stay out of trouble. I mean, everywhere had doormans in Chicago, but it's been a while. It's been a while since the technology, all these AI things. I don't know. I hope the doorman union is holding on strong in Chi-Town because it's a nice little perk of life there.
I feel like when you're walking through some of these major metropolitan areas, they've now gone to like the virtual doorman where they've got that screen at the entrance and it's just someone
Yes.
sitting in this very Black Mirror type room, right? Just like feel like they've been locked there for 8 hours and the door's not going to unlock until they welcomed in so many, residents. Kind of weird.
Yeah, I don't like it. I'm not a fan. I don't want the robots, those Russian robots I've seen online that are doing dances and falling over. I don't want that. I just want Calvin listening to my complaints about the heat. Yeah, man, summer. We're blessed up here in the Midwest, baby. It is golf season. We've had a few rainy days, but the course is needed. Our superintendents were happy, but things are, gosh, I'm trying to think of a June that's been this good for golf. It's been awesome up here.
I'll tell you what, I'm super excited about today's episode. You're actually the one going in blind. Typically you're the one who knows the people, has done all the research. We got a little role reversal on this one.
A little bit, but I done some digging. I'm selfishly going to be looking to figure out how I can be a better four-ball partner on today's episode. Because if you're wondering, like, man, why am I not getting over the hump? Why am I not maybe you are the problem. Maybe it's me, as it's not my teammate selection. It hasn't been my recruitment. What can I do to be a better four-ball partner? That's what I want out of today's episode.
I mean, I know one answer. Don't invite a bunch of friends down for the Texas-Georgia weekend and proceed to stay out late Thursday, Friday, Saturday night. I would say that's rule number one. I learned that lesson this last time. And so selfishly, yeah, that's a big reason to bring these guys on. Like, what do I need to do to be a better teammate? I'm surprised you even showed up with me that Monday after I picked you up Sunday.
Moving on. Well, tell us who are joining us today on this episode.
So we got Zach Healy and Jack Larkin Jr., two former University of Georgia golfers that'll be joining us today. I actually had the pleasure of meeting Jack. This is back when I was playing decently better golf than I do today. I'd done pretty well and been doing some analytics for myself. And Nick Cassini, I played with him and he's like, oh, you should reach out to the team and see if they need any help. And Jack was the first one that I got linked up with and really became an advocate for me, and got me in front of Hacker and Duggar. And so I worked out with the team a little bit, helped them out with some stuff. And then I got to meet, fortunately, Zach through that. I don't know if Zach will remember, maybe, when it comes on the episode, I could ask him about this. Zach actually gave me one of the best short game lessons I've ever had in my life. I was in the weeds going from the bent stuff up north to Bermuda down here in the South. And I heard about this legend, Zach Healy, at short game, and he gave me like a 20-minute lesson one time. And I still use several of the things that he gave me with that, and has helped me get over my sort of Bermuda yips, and now a strength of the game. So got to meet
That's
them through that. Zach went and played a little bit professionally for a little bit, came back to the AM life. Jack was sort of, my read of it was, maybe he'll confirm this, was a little bit in the weeds post-college golf, just sort of got, just the college game just wasn't as sharp and as good as he wanted, kind of helped out with the team as a graduate assistant coach for a little bit, then got back after the game. And now they've both been just tearing up the amateur scene, US amateur appearances, four-ball appearances, almost set the four-ball stroke play record one round. They're just tearing it up. You're going to see their names all over the Mid-Am list, I'm sure, in the next 20 years, probably. Wouldn't be shocked to see a couple USGA championships in their closets by the end of their tenure.
It's one of the highlights of what we get to do on this show, but something that I think you've been exceptionally good at. And I remember a coach telling me, if you want to get good at something, you got to really consider who you surround yourself with and who you're learning from and who you're watching. Go find somebody who does it really well and pick their brain. And I think, as it relates to amateur golf, four-ball golf, it's definitely having the balance, right? Supporting the family, doing what you got to do, and then still having the edge, still having the ability to get out and play well when it counts. So yeah, this is going to be a fun one today. I'm looking forward to it. What do you have on the schedule for teaching us, Professor? Get us started with a quick teach.
So got inspired by a friend and listener of the pod and my normal 8 a.m. Four-ball partner, myself, Will Divers. He asks, this is relative to the majors going on, who's hosting the most. But since we got AMs on the episode today, I wanted to go with the U.S. Amateur. So this year's Marion, right? Amazing place. Would love to get to play there someday. It'll be their seventh time hosting it. That'll be a record. So no club has hosted it 7 times. 8 clubs, including Marion, so 8 Marion plus 7 others, have hosted it 4 or more times. Can you name them? So you got 7 clubs other than Marion that have hosted the US AM 4 or more times.
I'll go with some of the old school ones, right? I'll throw out Newport.
Newport has not. There are 2 old school ones up there. I'll give you that.
Oakmont.
Yeah. And that's recent too. So old school and new school.
Pinehurst,
Oakmont's done 6. No, Pinehurst, not a big USAM hoster. Oakmont's had 6.
Shinnecock?
Shinny, nope.
I'm butchering this.
You do have some US Open courses up there.
Okay. Pebble
in at 5, most recent 2018.
So I got 2 of the 4, huh?
You got Oakmont and Pebble.
Let's go with Oak Hill.
No Oak Hill.
Man,
I'm gonna leave you hanging.
Just give it to us. I'm
all right. So we go. So another U.S. Open frequenter at the Country Club, right? They've hosted and as recent as 2013. So old school and new school. You got Oakmont. You got Pebble. Oakmont was also 6. Pebble was 5. Place that should be near and dear to your heart. Chicago Golf Club hosted 4 early on. None since 1912. Maybe someday.
Did they do the first? They might have done the first.
1897. I don't recall on that. That's 4, or they've hosted 4 times. Baltusrol, another popular U.S. Open venue, most recently 2000 for them. Olympic Club, another popular U.S. Open venue, 2005 or 25, most recently. Then a classic Garden City Golf Club. So
Garden City Golf Club.
They did 4 of the early ones up through 1936. So
yeah, I mean, and the Rhoda for the amateur events, whether it's the AM itself, Mid-Am's pretty good. The obviously the Walker Cup, Curtis Cup, like it's insane. And I love the pushback or the rollback, not to use that word too broadly, but to the strategy of like the great venues, the traditional US Open, USGA hosted championships. I just think that's a good move for them. And it's fun. It's fun to see amateur golf, professional golf being highlighted on those places. That's pretty cool.
That's right. Great golf courses showcasing great golf. That's what we should be striving for with all USGA events.
And what helps you play great golf, Professor, is your equipment. And nobody knows that game better than our friends at Titleist. The Backdrop and New Club Golf Society are both in partnership with Titleist. We've been talking a lot about the GTS, this new wave of drivers. It's honestly, just go try it for yourself. Don't listen to the professor and I go on about our experience with it. Like, you should get fit, and this 2026, it's quite remarkable in my purview. But the thing we haven't talked much about is the matchup. You're big on matchups, Professor. The matchup with your golf ball. There's a lot that did shift from the GT series to the GTS, and I have not done this yet. I think I need to go back and look, what ball's right for me? Is it the Pro V1? Is it the Pro V1X? Is it the Pro V left dash? All of that matters for the best combination of spin, of speed, of feel that you're going to get out of your clubs, your equipment, which include your clubs and the ball. So it's the most played ball on all major tours for many, many years, 70 plus years. Go to Titleist.com and check out their Titleist golf ball selector tool. The virtual ball consultant can help and get fit for the right ball. Titleist, the #1 ball in golf. All right, Professor, let's get on to the show.
All right, Zach and Jack, welcome to the Backdrop. Man, I've never got
Thanks
to do
for
that.
having us.
That's the first time I've got to do that, I think.
You just stepped on my toes. I was just getting settled as we jump in, but okay. All right. He's excited, guys. Zach, Jack, thanks for being here.
Glad to be here. Thank you for having us.
All right, I'm jumping straight to it. How do Matt and I qualify for the USGA Four-Ball? Let's just jump right there. Tell us what we need to do. We will sit down. We will put in the time and effort. Give us the secret.
Honestly, I think you got to stay out late before the Georgia-Texas game and just send it. Just send it for a couple nights and forget about everything and see what happens. That's probably your best recipe for success.
What I heard there was get a new partner. Yeah, somebody who has some responsibility, knows restraint, knows how to, say no to impulses. Thank you, Jack.
Or just a little bit more grit. Listen, you got to battle the next day after a late night.
Good point. Good point. Who cares? What's done is done. So I love that.
I've always been a bad hangover player my whole life. You do not want me playing. I think I've played like one sub 75 round on a post hangover in my entire career. I'm just not a happy person when I'm there.
I do think though it highlights for me. I've been doing the Four-Ball for almost coming up on a decade, and so much feels like it has to go perfect. Like everything has to be perfectly in order for it to happen. Is that the case, guys? Like, back to Kevin's question, does it have to have that perfect sequence of things that need to occur, or is there more acceptance of a formula that just kind of puts you in the mix?
I don't think it has to be perfect. Like, honestly, I think that's one thing that Zach and I do really well is we know that we're not going to be perfect. And I even remember in qualifying for this past year, I think we made a bogey on like the third hole. So we were 1 over through 3. And we each looked at each other like, all right, well, we got the bogey out of the way, like, who cares? Let's just try to stay aggressive and keep going for it. So I think you can almost do more harm than good by trying to be, quote, perfect.
Yeah, I mean, I at least take the mindset too of like, you're going to make bogeys. That's going to happen. If everything aligns and you don't make a bogey, fantastic. But not getting rattled when it happens, whether it's early or late, and just accepting the fact, like, especially in golf, you're going to make mistakes. And especially in my golf game, thankfully I've got a solid partner, but I'm making plenty of mistakes out there.
I was going to say, I don't know your game very well, Zach. I do know Jack's game decently well, having played with him several times and all that. Is that the case? Like, Jack to me has just been that steady Eddie. He does fill it up too. Like, that's not put that in doubt. But it seems to be like, he's going to be in it on every hole, probably having a decent birdie look. He's going to get up and down if not. Are you then that wild card that's like, hey, I might throw 8 birdies at you today? Is that your role?
Yeah, I think Larkin is for sure out of the two of us, the more steady one, but by all means can absolutely rattle off 5-6 birdies. Mine is like a EKG machine where one hole I'm up, next hole I'm down, just back and forth, left, right, military. But I generally sprinkle in a decent amount of birdies, but by all means, I'm going to have some doubles and X's, which I think is the beauty of Four-Ball as well.
I can't agree more. You guys have probably run into more duos than the professor and I. Is that a common recipe? Or can you name a team that has like 2 higher variance guys or 2 steadier eddies? Or is it mostly the teams that have excelled? Like, is that part of the form?
That's a good question. I mean, you kind of see the whole run of the gambit. I'd say you'd probably see more successful teams that have 2 steadier players. Just because, like, and Zach has to give himself more credit here. He's not that volatile. I think the key is to, like, when you have 2 guys that are always in it, like, if Zach is long left, short sided, I know he's probably going to figure out a way to get up and down. And I know he's still in it. It's like that gives me even more confidence of, like, all right, well, it's not like he's just in a bad spot and it's going to pick up. Like, we're both always in it. I feel like you probably see more success with teams that are of that nature than, the high volatility golfers that are just like, hey, we're going to wing it and see what happens.
Yeah, I would totally agree with that. It's, if you're constantly giving yourself 2 looks at it
Yeah.
throughout the entire day, usually more than not, that team's going to prevail.
Yeah.
That's kind of always been.
You're getting confidence from your partner is what I heard. It doesn't really matter if it's a higher variance or steadier play. That whatever it is needs to instill confidence in the other guy. That's a insightful answer.
So I've always thought about like high level 4-ball. If hey, on the 14 of the holes, we can have 2 putts inside 20 feet looking at birdie, right? Like we're probably going to be pretty good as a team, right? If we can just set that as our goal, then you need those 4 holes where you just ham and egg it, and one guy's out of it and the other guy just happens to be in. And there's just a little bit of luck to that, right? On that day, did we happen to get it done? And did my teammate grind it out when I jacked one in the trees?
Yeah, and I think that's even more applicable too, especially when you're in the first 2 rounds of stroke play as well. I think if you play well enough and make it to match play, can adjust the strategy. I mean, I usually probably get a little bit more aggressive in match play, but by no means, I mean, still, if you've got 220 yards to a tuck pin, I mean, I'll take 25, 30 feet all day long.
So you brought up this year's USGA Four-Ball. So this year, you all in stroke play, I think, ended up finished tied for second in stroke play, but threatened the USGA Four-Ball stroke play single round record, right? I think the final tally was a 63, and that was 1 off. What was that? Just a straight heater round for both of you? What did it? Inside the ropes, going through those 18 holes, was it one of those early on? You're like, oh, it's go time. We're vibing the day, like. Got there 2 hours early like Jack likes to do. This is just our day. Or was it sort of we got one of those rounds where you get done, you're like, wait, 63 was our total? I didn't think we were getting there.
We were vibing. I mean, cocktails in hand, strolling down the first tee. I have to give Zach credit here. Like, starting our round, I hit this like high right ball into the, bushes out there in the desert. And he didn't have a care in the world, drives one down the middle of the fairway, hits a wedge up to 20 feet and rolls it in for birdie. And we're like, okay, off to the races. Like, I think we birdied like 6 of our first 8 holes or something. And at that point, you're like, okay, we basically done what we need to do to get into match play. Like, now let's just kind of stay aggressive and keep playing our game.
Yeah, I think for sure. And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Larkin, that second round was at Cochise, right?
Yeah, that was at Cochise in the morning with no wind.
Yeah. So I think we played really good the first round at Outlaw, which I felt was pretty difficult in the wind. So you set yourself up, and I think strategy going into the next day was like, hey, let's be conservatively aggressive, right? We're gonna go make some birdies, but we don't have to do anything crazy. Shoot a few under, and we should be solid. I mean, goal number 1, make it to match play. Then when you get off to that start, which is like a dream start, you're like, okay, this is different, and you're just trying to put the throttle down, and just kind of like we were talking. Look, we ended up making a couple of mistakes, and that's totally fine. But yeah, it was definitely fun mid round where you're like, one, I think we wanted to try and get the medalists. Like, that's an awesome thing that not many people get to do in a USGA event. But, at the end of the day, we got what we wanted to do out of it. But it was a lot of fun, and we had the gas pedal down for a while. I don't think we've even together have had it going like that in a very long time.
But the key was, like, talk about brother-in-law and having some luck involved there. Like, I mean, we were brother-in-law perfectly. Like, Zach would roll in a 15-footer, I'd roll in a 20-footer, he rolled in an 8-footer. Like, we were just going back and forth, like trying to one up each other with who could make the next birdie. Where it's almost like a inter-group competition of like, I want to make birdie here, and then he'd make birdie in the next hole, which like that made it even more fun.
Yeah, 100% too. And shout out to our caddies as well. They just kept us in it as well, keeping the cocktails going and just high vibes all day long.
The vibes were immaculately high.
What's the cocktail of choice? What's the
Yeah,
what's the birdie juice?
I'm personally more of a transfusion guy, but that week I'm also very superstitious. So before that round, I think Zach had one beforehand and I won it on the first tee. I went with a screwdriver. And then my superstitious stealth, like I couldn't not get a screwdriver to start every other round after that because we played so well. So I was floating back and forth.
Yeah, generally a transfusion guy. I think that week I was all over the map. I think usually it was a screwdriver in the morning. One of the mornings I had a margarita, like
Yeah.
it was in typical desert fashion.
You're in
Like,
Arizona.
Yeah, I mean, so I'm just, whatever comes into my mind at that point in time.
Professor, I'm learning my first tragic error in this is taking it way too seriously. I actually did get to the 2018 Four-Ball with Putter Johnson, a good friend of mine. And I'll never forget, we get done with a horrendous first stroke play round. It was raining and I forgot multiple elements of my rain gear. So that tells you where my head was at, right? And we get in and there's a crew that sounds like Zach and Jack here having a cocktail. And we're like, order me up one of those. They're like, this is our fourth or fifth, man. Join the party. I was like, didn't you guys just get done? He's like, yeah, you can drink out there. I was like, I didn't know you could drink out there. I could have used that. But that's a unique thing, though, to the Four-Ball, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's all over the map, right? You've got feel comfortable enough now that I'm in my 30s to call them kids who are, 17 or so out there that are 100% grinding, and hats off to them. You got your college kids too, but then you've got, guys in their 30s, 40s, 20s that are working jobs, and like I would call it almost a quasi vacation too. So yes, I mean, listen, we're very serious and want to play good. And I am, like Jack, one of the most competitive people out there. But at the end of the day too, I'm going to have a good time.
It's strikes such a beautiful balance, man. It is so cool. And there probably is a balance too, right? I mean, you can have one too many screwdrivers, I'm sure.
Yeah. You can get over your skis a little bit. And listen, that's when we talk about choice of partner. That's when you've got to lean on your partner. If someone goes a little over the edge, you got to be like, tap them on the shoulder. Like, hey, you got to buckle up the next 2 holes. I'm going to go.
That's right. I need 2 holes. Get my liquid IV in me, smash some protein. Like that's,
that's all.
So I think that's the mistake. I shut it off after the Georgia Bulldogs took out the Longhorns Saturday night. I shut it off. Maybe I should have just kept, riding it through the next couple of days.
Well, that is, I'm not going to call you're by no means rookie, but if you got a late night, you got to know that you just got to get right back into it the next morning. That's the only way to keep going.
Can't fight it.
I want to take us back to when you guys meet, because I don't know this. I'm sure the professor does, and our listeners sure don't. But you guys obviously have a deep friendship and have known each other a long time. Can you guys tell me about, your guys' relationship and how it has built to the trust of having a great Four-Ball partner?
I think we met each other in junior golf.
Yeah.
Like we were both getting recruited by Georgia. Obviously both wanted to go there. Didn't really know what everything was going to look like. And I think if I remember correctly, we had met, I think I committed some point in like junior year, and like a week later Zach committed. And it was like, okay, we're going to be good friends and roommates going forward.
Yeah, 100%. I think we always saw each other's names, and I can't remember the exact age or something, but call it 15. I mean, you cross paths going through all these, AJGAs and, different SJGTs, junior tournaments and stuff like that. Both of us are from the same area as well, so definitely knew of. And then once we kind of committed, obviously that is, I don't want to call it, but you're basically forced into a friendship, and then, but worked out. We obviously get along, and we were roommates every year in college. Emphasis on 5 years, Larkin.
Mm-hmm. I said we were roommates all 5 years.
Yes.
Victory lap. You got to have the victory lap.
I mean,
100%.
Hell, we should have made it 6.
One, I don't even know how they let me out to begin with.
I think most people go to school for 7 years. Yeah, they're called doctors. That's what.
I've always said,
like the professor.
I've always said, a former guest of ours, Chris Wilson, he always laughed when he played in the Corn Ferry, what was the web.com event here in Athens. He's like, man, I'm kind of glad I didn't go on a recruiting trip to Georgia, because like, how do you not go here? And then once you get into Athens, he's like, how do you ever leave this place? He's like it's like you want to be here. So kudos to you for just y'all both getting out. And also staying roommates, man, that's like a marriage, right? So you guys have been together now. Well, you're just into your 30s, so 10, 12 years, 13 years. I mean, that's longer than my first marriage.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would say Larkin's the patient one. He hasn't divorced me yet. I've definitely tested him a few times for sure.
I do want to ask about, let's rewind back, y'all. I think, what's your first starting class, maybe 2014, that fall, if I remember right. You know, yeah, your teammates now operate in four-ball, and we've just touched on how there's a casual and competitive aspect of it, and that's something I love about the mid-am four-ball scene. That it's like, yeah, I want to beat your guts out in these 18 holes, but man, we're gonna have a few cocktails after. We're gonna hang out. We might be out too late. Like, we aren't gonna take it so seriously where we're cold plunging every night and like doing all that stuff, right? When you stepped into at UGA, though, give us some insights into those dynamics. You're coming as teammates. I imagine some programs, guys are competing against each other, and you see your teammate as a competition. Other programs, maybe something different. What did it look like walking onto, Hacker's program with Duggar along for the ride?
I think the biggest thing is like, I mean, you realize that you come from an area where you might be one of the best players at your, high school area, region, whatever. And you get there and you're like, oh my gosh, these other guys that are older than me are so good. And I have to elevate and step up my game to even, compete against these guys. So it almost kind of forces your hand of like, hey, you're you're not the best player around anymore. Like you got to figure it out and get better and compete to be able to compete with these guys.
Yeah, I think I can absolutely echo that, especially fortunate enough to be recruited by one of the highly touted universities, and then you think you're good. And then I was fortunate enough to make the USAM right before I got there and made match play. And then you get to school and everybody's just crushing you, and you're like, what is going on? I thought I had this under control, but in a good way, because you can learn so much from them. And, we've got a list of players from Georgia that are out there now, and some of them are on our team. And so you just kind of pick up what they're doing, certain things that they've adapted to their game, and try and kind of mold yours and take bits and pieces of that as well. But by all means, I mean, I view it as still highly competitive. Like, I would be hard pressed that Larkin wouldn't give me the same exact answer that when we put the peg in the ground, I want to beat his brains out in qualifying, and he wants to beat mine. But you're also working towards a common goal too, especially with the team aspect. Yeah, okay. Individually, if I go take care of my business and try and beat X, and Larkin beats me and he shoots 66 and I shoot 67, that's pretty dang good for the team.
It strikes me like the best teams have that attitude where, like, yeah, there's the common goal, but him beating you with 66 and 67 just means, okay, now I need to get a little bit better, right? Like,
Yeah.
how do I wake up tomorrow and flip that script? And then when I flip it, hopefully he's thinking the same thing. How do I wake up the next day so I can flip it back? And we're always just pushing each other to be better the whole way through.
Yeah. And to Zach's point, like you
Yeah,
play
I
these guys,
found
you figure out what makes them better.
Jack, I found an article. I did do my research, Professor. I found an article on you, and it had an early quote from Coach Hack. And, the article kind of touched on that you might not have the most decorated individual career of that class, but he saw your ability and he just said, here's the quote, you could just tell he was one of those guys who's going to be a hard worker and a great teammate, Hack said. So I wanted to try and figure out a way to get him on my team. I can hear the hard worker part very clearly and pushing yourself. Tell me about the great teammate part, in that college dynamic, or even high school prior. I actually think one of the sad things in golf is that there's a lot of nostalgia people have for when they were part of a team, and then you get older and you miss that. And you're always talking about the glory days, but four-ball helps with that, of course. I'm curious what he saw that you think makes you a great teammate. What is that?
I'm curious too. I need to ask him about it.
Let's ask Zach. Zach, what is it?
Man, no, that is 100% spot on. Like, you can obviously see and hear the work ethic through and through. I think it just boils down to, one, always willing to lend a helping hand and wanting the best for another. Like, people can echo it all the time, right? But there's obviously teammates that don't want the best for each other. I think Larkin absolutely 100% does. And so whether that's in the gym, helping you or pushing you when we were there, or in practice, holding you accountable to certain things, Georgia was unique that other than a few things, we really didn't have scheduled practice. It was kind of, the onus was on you to go do it. So Larkin's there helping people, making sure people are getting out there if they want to, right? Like, I think that plays, and you just compound that. You do that months and years over end. Like, that helps the team, and Larkin is testament to that. I mean, there's one of the reasons why he was the captain.
Yeah. I mean, honestly too, like Zach kind of hit on it. this game, when you're playing by yourself, especially in high school and even college, and I mean, definitely professionally, which I never did, but it can be really isolating. You're off on your own, you're by yourself, you're traveling, you're playing, you're practicing, whatever. And I don't know, I've just always had the mindset I don't really like to be in isolation. Like, I like to be around other people. So for me, it was always the mindset of like, what can I do to ensure that obviously I'm getting better, but what can I do to make sure that everyone else around me is getting better and to make sure they're happy, And if sitting there picking someone's brain about, a facet of their game or what I want to do, like, again, I can't tell you a number of times I would pick Zach's brain, like, hey, how the hell do you hit this chip? He's got one of the best short games I've ever seen, and I was always picking his brain about how to do that. And conversely, he would look at me and say, like, how do you hit your driver so straight? Like, I don't get it. Like, it doesn't make sense to me. So my whole thing, whether it was high school or college, was just always trying to be there for other guys. And at the end of the day, you know, it's crazy what can happen to a team sometimes when no one wants to take the success, when you just want to have a common success amongst the team and no one's seeking the attention for it. And that was kind of my, I don't know, I'll call it MO of trying to make sure, like, hey, I'm not going to try to take credit for all this stuff, but I want to put people in the best spot and position to succeed that we can.
Well said.
Yeah, it takes a certain level of confidence too to just, not root for people to come down to you, for you to rise to their level and above. And so that means you're going to have the belief in yourself that, oh yeah, I'm going to help them get better, help them, with a certain chip shot, or call out something I noticed in their game that might help, because you're hoping, one, you might get the same back, but also you believe you're going to be able to get there. An insecure person would be like, no, I'm not going to tell him about that. I can tell he's lining it up on his heel. We'll let him keep that going. But no, it's confidence to say, yeah, I'm going to help him.
Oh yeah. I think the last thing I'll say on that is, like, I mean, you see it with Zach and I, like, we're still close friends, 12 years later, 15 years later. And, we're also still close friends with so many guys that we played with that are older and younger. And, like, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if you shoot 70 or 68 or 73 or 71. Like, what matters is, like, the friendships and the teammates and the bonds that you form over the years. And I feel like we both did a really good job of always putting that perspective. Like, knowing we wanted to play well and succeed, but knowing, like, in the long run, having those friendships and relationships matters way more than trying to shave like a stroke or two off your qualifying round.
Jack, a quick question for you. This sort of one of the first things I noticed the first time we interacted was this sort of leadership gene that you had, where you just had this confidence about you, but in a way, you wanted to see everybody else around you get better. And I think that's
Mhm.
why one of the reasons probably you helped me just get in front of Hacker and talk with the team. Where does that come from with you? Is that something instilled to you as a child, or just you've always just had it naturally? Any insights into that?
No idea. I'll just say I guess I've always tried to have it. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know. It's something I've always looked to people that are older than I am, that, what are some of the stuff that they do great, and try to just emulate them, you know? Some guys I've been around and they've been very successful and great people and great leaders, and I don't know, I guess I've just tried to always emulate that as much as possible, but I'm definitely not perfect. So I can promise you there's still a long way to go on that front.
I think that just speaks to what Matt brought up earlier, surround yourself by great people. And, you kind of start reflecting what their values are in on their actions.
100%.
All right, let's go post college now, because this is one of the most, for me, there's a ton of projection with post college golf careers, right? I quit the game for 10 years, and now I play it again. And so that just, I think, makes me love everybody else's journey post college, because you see so many varied paths. Zach, I want to kick it to you first on this, because you left University of Georgia and said, hey, I want to give that pro thing a try. So walk us through that decision and those first couple of years out there when you were, grinding in a very non-glorious life that not a lot of people have insights into.
Yeah, I think I mean, growing up, I fell in love with golf, and that is what I wanted to do. And when I got to college, I would say I had a very mediocre overall 4-year career, fairly decent my freshman and sophomore year, and then kind of speaking on the driver woes, lost my way with that a little bit. Built it back up enough to feel like I wanted to give it a run and owe it to myself and testament to my, parents and family. They're like, hey, you don't want to, the last thing you want to do is be late 20s and not have tried and go, man, I wish, what if?
Mm-hmm.
So played for, I'd have to look, maybe 2 years and just, very, very zero success. Let's put it that way. Played a bunch of Monday qualifiers, a few mini tour events, Q schools, and just didn't hit it well enough to make it out there. But I think I learned so much about one myself and then golf as well doing that. I think towards the end of it, I want to say it was 2020. I used a map in a payphone in the same day, driving back from, I was playing a Monday qualifier about an hour outside of St. Louis. And I was like, what am I doing? Larkin and all my buddies are out there, working, having a great time, living with each other. And I'm like, this is horrible. So decided to hang the cleats up on that one. But I think looking back on it, I'm so glad I did it, because especially now with my golf game, I learned so many things when I was trying to do that. In majority, also, you don't have to play perfect.
Talk us through one of those biggest lessons learned when you're out there in the pro game. Maybe the one that you've been able to carry with yourself as you've moved back into high level competitive amateur golf.
Let's use one that I tend to struggle with sometimes, but patience. You gotta have some absolute serious patience while you're out there, especially playing either a couple round tournaments or your Monday qualifier or 1-day sprints, right? Again, we talked about it earlier. You're gonna make bogeys. You're gonna make doubles. Knowing that, hey, if I do that on the first hole, I have 17 more opportunities to get that back. I mean, that is golf in a nutshell, right? It is the second you think you've got it, you're like, oh man, this is easy. It is going to hit you right in the face. So to just keep, instead of being an EKG machine on the mental side of things, just trying to be a little bit more level-headed and patient, and knowing that it's a marathon, not a sprint, I think is probably the biggest lesson that I've learned when I was trying to play from a golf perspective too. And honestly, probably pretty applicable in life.
Yeah, Zach, I feel so seen by you right now, man. Like life and golf, there's such a parallel there. I know you're like the rest of us now, more talented golfer than most of us, but working a day job. Like what have you found to help you run the marathon and not the sprint? Because I struggle with that every day. Every day I go too hard at something, or back to golf terms, I'm pushing way too much when I just need to look at a fat side of a green and move on to the next. Have you found anything to help you with that other than repetition and experience and remembering those things, or is there something you do on the course or in life that you help level you out?
I think in general, whether it's a good or bad thing, I want everything to be fun. Not everything is fun, but I try and just make everything good time. Want to have a good time, whether it's in the office or on the golf course. And so knowing that golf is supposed to be fun, even though a lot of the times we're, call it in the mumble room, walking down the fairways, like, what am I doing out here? Trying to make everything as fun as it can be while still taking it seriously is, I think that's something I constantly remind myself of, because I can absolutely go down those tangents, but try and carry that through pretty much everything from hopefully the second that I wake up to the second that I lay my head back.
Jack, so Zach goes off and tries a professional game. You, on the other hand, like, I'm going to become a working man. Talk us through that journey, because I know you and I have talked definitely offline about this several times, of that transition. But, was there a decision for you to make about trying to play professionally or not? And then once you got in the working game, talk us through how you got back into just being such a high level player.
I mean, honestly, not really. Like I'd be lying. I think anyone that goes into college, especially at a Division I program like Georgia, has all intentions of having success, playing professionally, doing it for a living for, 20, 30 years, whatever. I feel like I saw guys on our team that were so good. And in my head, it was like, how am I ever going to get to that level? And like, I don't even know if these guys are going to have success professionally. And so from there, like, I just never had the passion and burning interest to try professionally. I candidly thought I was going to burn myself out if I tried. And I remember having a conversation with my dad multiple times of like, the point of this game, like Zach said, is to have fun. And I truly felt like if I was trying to play professionally for my livelihood, I don't think I would have fun. And I didn't think I was going to enjoy the game that we can obviously still enjoy now at 30, which is awesome. So for me, I always thought about it, but again, I kind of saw the writing on the wall and said, man, I just don't think that's the path for me. I'd say to the second part of your question, it is a wild re-navigation back into competitive golf after you leave college and take a break. And I was talking to someone about this, a few days ago. It's like, it is way harder to get back into that scene in a competitive standpoint than you expect. Because again, like, your point is to play well in, X tournament like the US Four-Ball. To play well at the Four-Ball, you need to play well in other tournaments to get tournament experience. To play well in other tournament experience, you need to play well with your buddies on Saturday afternoon. Like, there's so much that goes into it to get better. So for me, it was just dipping my toes back in and accepting the fact, like, okay, you know what? I may try to go out and try to qualify for like the state AM, the state mid AM, and I might shoot 80, but you have to pull back the layers of the onion to actually get back to that success that you want, which is way easier said than done. You sit there on some, Monday afternoon trying to qualify when you're 26 years old. You're like, what the hell am I doing? It's almost important that you have to do that to get back into those tournament reps and to get, that feeling of, okay, I need to get this up and down to have a chance. Like, let's figure this out and, rise to the occasion.
Yeah, and I think also it's tough as a mid-am too. I'm going to throw out call them professional amateurs that play 8 days a week. When you are playing once a week and you've got to you got to make an 8-footer, you got to get up and down short-sided from a bunker, like, you're not as sharp as you were when you were 18 to 22. Like, so
Yeah.
to your point, Larkin, like, you've got the internal stuff going in your head too, right? All mental as well. But there's a point of this where it's still an execution thing, and you don't have the quote unquote reps that you've hit 5,000 bunker shots this week. And you're like, I've got this easy. Like, there's a little bit of that too.
100%. I've also always said, and I've gotten really good at it now over the last few years, is for mid-am guys like ourselves, you have to figure out how to get as efficient as you can with your time. Because, like, I might have one afternoon I can go walk 9 holes once a week just to kind of keep the reps going, and that might be it. Like, you don't have 5 days to go play 18 holes and practice and hit balls and get a lesson or whatever. So you have to get really efficient at how you can best keep with it and stay as sharp as you can, knowing that, like, to Zach's point, you're not going to be perfect. Like, there's going to be times where you don't play at all for a week or two. And you just have to know, like, okay, like, I'm going to try and make this as simple and efficient as possible.
Professor, I want you to remember that really thoughtful answer from both those guys next time you call me a cheater for my arm bar. I have made the conscious decision that, hey, if I could practice 8 days a week with my, college traditional putter, I'd be a better putter.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't have the time to practice it anymore. And all I know is with that arm bar, I don't miss a lot of short putts anymore. And it allows me to compete. It really is that decision. It's kind of funny to hear you guys describe it that way, because I didn't really come to it that way. Came to it through, plenty of ugly putts. But it does allow for that, right? It's like acceptance almost of, man, you're not that 21-year-old kid who can just roll putts for 4 hours. Like, you gotta figure out a new way.
100%. I mean, I even changed putters last year, and I had the same putter for like 15 years and finally switched. And I was like, listen, if these guys are changing to this putter that do it for a living, there's gotta be something to it. And if I can, but also it's just applicable too in the mid-am. If I can get incrementally better, just the smallest amount, and be somewhat more consistent, that's gonna help me and bode well. Like, I'm gonna have to, as hard as it for me, check the ego at the door, and I'm gonna go roll this spaceship now that I'm putting with.
Yeah.
I think I can see why you two are such good partners too, because you've complemented each other so well in that advice where, Jack, I'll go back to your point of, like, you have to be willing to accept, I'm going to shoot 80 in a mid-am qualifier because I need to sharpen my knives again. And I need to learn whatever you want to call it, to Zach's point, have fun with that, or just sit in it and be like completely okay with that. not okay in the sense of you're happy the outcome and you're going to stay, but no, like that's what it's going to take. I need to learn to embrace that and just sit in it and have fun with it. So I just keep sharpening and getting better. Yeah, I think that is perfectly said for anybody out there looking to get in mid-am golf or has put the clubs away for a while, that you just accept that's part of the process and you're never going to be able to hoop it like you used to on a day-to-day basis. But I don't know. I'd ask you to this. Like, I feel like I'm a much better golfer now than I'm in college. I'm certainly on a day-to-day basis. I'm not going to hoop it as well as I did there, but I'm certainly a better golfer now. And I think I'd beat myself more often. The college version of myself on a, play over cost 20 times, I'd win more than 10. Do you guys feel that about your games? Are you better golfers now, or maybe better in some ways, worse in some ways? Putting aside obviously when you're playing every single day, you can just hoop it every shot, every situation you're in, nothing feels weird. In the mid-am game, that disappears a little bit. You get in some spots, you're like, haven't hit this shot in 5 years, but here we go.
Hmm.
But are you better golfers? So just throw that out there.
I personally, I think I am. Like, I'm sure there's times in college where I was a better overall player, but I think now, just with a lot more experience and a lot better perspective and understanding, like, I think day in and day out, I'm just as good, if not better now in my late 20s and now early 30s than I was in college. I don't know, Zach, if you agree, but that's...
I go back and forth. I mean, I can absolutely say my probably junior and senior year, way better now. That's due to couldn't find the planet with my driver. Like, played 2-3 woods, would hit iron off the tee. Like, I mean, whatever you think, keep it in play. I think my first 2 years, I was definitely I was shooting lower scores. I don't think I was as smart of a player that I am now. I think the execution was better, and so inherently that just leads to better scores, I would say. But from a wisdom standpoint and how to play golf, not hit golf ball or make putt, I'm a lot smarter now, which I think, bodes well for hopefully many more years of good mid-am golf to come.
I completely agree with that last part too. Like,
Yeah.
100% agree. I'm way smarter as a player now than I was in college.
We're stupid at that age. I'm sorry. Like,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
actually incredible we shot the scores we did. Any kids, like I still watch college players play, and I'm like, man, they are just dumb, but they're good. Like,
I will never
crazy.
forget. Yeah, I will never forget. And I won't name names, but I played with I was playing the Players Am and played with an unbelievable mid-am golfer who's played in the Walker Cup. And I smoked a drive 30 yards past him. He hit his layup to 100 yards. I hit my 3-wood left at the green and chunked it and made bogey. He wedged it to 5 feet and made birdie. And I was like in absolute shambles. And he just put his hand on my head and he was like, you'll learn one day. And I'm like, oh, wow, he was really smart. Yeah, I was really dumb back then. So hopefully I'm probably not doing it to his level, but adopting some of those things that he's doing in mindset.
It's such a cool thing about our game too. I mean, other sports have this as well, but not other sports don't have the lifespan that we get to have in this game. And I mean, just that story, Zach, I'm thinking about the senior guys I've played with who probably look at the mid-ams a little bit of the same way. I remember one guy talking about me and the other guy he's playing with swings of just like, yeah, injuries come up, boys. Just remember that. And this guy like transformed his game because of 2 injuries that he's like, I just was never going to get hurt again is what I decided. And so I changed my swing. I had to get it done a little bit differently, but he dusted both of us that day. And I think it's like, man, it's almost like the Padawan Jedi thing. Like, you're never really there. Like, you're always going to be learning and little new crafty ways to do it. But that's a cool element about our game.
Yeah, it is fun. I mean, there's no other game where you can competitively play till you're legitimately 65 or sometimes almost 70. Like that, I can tell you one thing, you're not playing pickup basketball when you're doing that unless you got 2 torn ACLs going on.
Yeah, that's why LeBron's coming to golf and not, the other way. That's how it works.
Yeah, exactly. Too. And it's also especially it's fun too because you can see those guys who are so good at their sports, the Brady's, the LeBrons, right? This is almost their fix per se because you can still get that competitive edge, whether you're just playing a Saturday morning game with your buddies, having, a $5 or $10 bet or play, or you're playing a USGA event. Like, for me, that is, I mean, one of the things that I absolutely love is as a competitor and somebody that doesn't do it for a living, that is your fix, and that is how you get that. It's unless you know own your own company or something. I mean, I would assume it's pretty hard to find that on a day-to-day basis. So I think golf is the beauty of it is you're able to do that, whether it's for, a penny or, a championship.
Well said. Jack, I want to circle. I think this naturally brings up your father in a way, who it was and is still an excellent golfer. So I'm not going to go through his accolades. This episode's not about him, but just go look him up. Jack Larkin Sr., phenomenal golfer. Is he someone for you, Jack, you've been able to look to and learn from? Touching on these points of becoming a smarter golfer, as I get older, I can, if I'm getting physically worse or whatever, but I can become a better player. Has he helped play that role for you?
100%. I mean, Zach talked about patience. Like, I think my dad has the ultimate patience on the golf course. It's crazy. What makes him a great player and honestly a great caddy. I think the biggest thing, though, is he kind of showed me the blueprint of, hey, you can do this up until you're 50, 55, 60. He's now, I guess, 65 in September and still playing high-level senior golf. So he kind of showed me the blueprint from, hey, you got to get in shape and keep your body in check to be able to do this long term. But also too, like, he did a lot for me as far as like proving it to yourself at an older age, right? Like, I think a lot of guys our age or even a little bit younger, they get out of college and they think, okay, well, my best golf years are behind me. But he really set the bar of they can be in front of you. Like, they could be when you're 30, they could be when you're 45, they could be when you're 60. And you don't know that. And so as long as you keep believing that, and you keep working towards it, and you start to fine tune, how to stay in better shape to where you can actually play long term. Like, I think that's kind of the driving force behind it, from a longevity standpoint, and honestly from a self-belief standpoint, regardless of how old you are.
I imagine that's a lot of fun for you, getting to play competitively with your dad and then your brother Matthew still being competitive golfers as well. If the three of you are teeing it up tomorrow, who's winning?
Well, Matthew kicked my ass last time, so I can't just easily say that. We all go back and forth. I bet my dad wins 5 out of those 10 times, and then Matthew and I kind of go back and forth for the next like 2 and 3, whether it's whoever's playing better. But it is so fun. We don't get to do it as much now, but whenever us three are playing together, there is a very understood game of like, I'm going to try to rip your head off. And Matthew's not one to hold back from some gamesmanship and some talking and chirping back and forth. And my dad's not either. So it becomes a very fun back and forth.
The younger brother role, man. I know that real well. I feel like this Matthew's relating to him. I've had 5 irons chucked at my head. I've had all kinds of stuff.
But it is so fun. And like, even last year, like, my dad played with Hayes Brown in the 4-ball, and that was Zach and I's first 4-ball. So for us, like, I kept telling him, like, all right, there's no way we're losing to them. Like, we have to go out and beat them. So it's fun to still be able to do that at a tournament level from time to time, where like, that's probably very rare that you can have someone that's in their 60s and he's at the time compete against each other in the same golf tournament.
In the same family. I mean, like, I'd love to be the unsuspecting fourth in that group. You walk on the tee just thinking it's a casual game. You're like, man, I thought these guys liked each other. They're going to be ripping each other's head off.
It is so fun. It never gets old, because it's like, it's just bragging rights until the next time. Like, I think even now, the last time we played was for my brother's wedding a month ago. And like, Matthew is still reminding me, like, yeah, remember when I beat you about a month ago by, 5 shots or whatever it was? And I'm like, yeah, I remember. Don't worry.
I'll say this. Don't take on Senior on his home course. I don't think I've seen him miss a fairway in the 4 or 5 rounds that I've spent with him out there.
He does not. Like, it's just automatic.
He needs to teach me how to do that.
I have a couple of questions, just again back to being a team, and I do want to hear about some specifics on the U.S. Mid-Am. There's some great matches that I probably want to hear a story or two about. But first, on the selection of courses, do you guys talk about that a lot? Whether it's the qualifier that you're signing up for, or it's Maybe it's the cocktail tour, right? Or the mid-am Four-Balls. I don't know how many of those you guys will play in, but do you guys talk about where you're playing much and which venue you're going to select for those?
Little bit. Like, I mean, Heels, you tell me. Like,
Yeah, I mean, I think we talk about getting wiser over years. I think we started off with that of like, this fits us. And like, I think the first 2 or 3 years we tried to qualify, 3 years we didn't make it. And the qualifier was at one of the course I play at, Berkeley Hills, which is for mine just a total screwing of the mind of like, I personally know this like the back of my hand, and Larkin knows it pretty well. Like, how are we not getting through here? So then I think we started to veer away from that a little bit. I jokingly say, let's pick the most wide open course there is. That way we're both in it. But at the end of the day, yeah, you can talk about it and go through it, but it's still about executing. Like, if you hit, the golf ball down the middle on the green and roll putts in, any golf course is going to be okay. So
yeah.
You could look at the courses that we qualified on, and they're completely different, in my opinion. So
Yeah. Like, I thought Cartersville we qualified last year was more difficult than this year's. But again, it's like you still have to go out and play good golf. Like, you're not gonna be able to walk in any USGA qualifier and be like, I had like my B- game and got through. Like,
No,
you gotta play good.
Like,
Yeah.
7, 8, 9 under is what's qualifying for these. Like, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what golf course you're playing.
Yeah.
That's still pretty deep, and you got to go hold the golf ball. So you can try and figure it out. I'm not going to say that it doesn't help at some point, but I don't think, in my opinion now, that is going to be the make or break for it.
Yeah. Like, our second year when we missed it, we tried to qualify at somewhere in Bluffton. It was like mid-December. We're like, let's try it out. It's a harder golf course. And we were a second alternate. And we're driving home Monday night at like midnight, 5 hours down I-16. And we're like, okay, this is not it. Like, this is not what we want to do. Like, we might need something a little more convenient. So it's like, you can go down that rabbit hole and try and figure out like what's, quote, like most ideal. But at the end of the day, like, you can sometimes do more harm than good, in my opinion.
Yeah, I've oddly enough, like, personally, Jack, you brought up like trying to do it at a home course. I've always enjoyed, and I've personally played better being at away sites. Like, even to the extent going to a qualifier where I'm gonna know no one's gonna know me. Like, just lets me like live in like my element, and just like all the noise disappears when. So it's less about course fit. It's more about like, hey, I kind of want to just be somewhere I can be isolated and just worry about me and not worry about, oh, I gotta have that 3-minute conversation with, Joe over there that I haven't seen in 6 months.
Completely agree.
Yeah.
Professor, how much do you look at the calendar of football games and what's going on when you're selecting your venues? Does that come into play?
100%. See, we made that mistake. We should not have
There you go,
charged.
lessons.
We should not have chose a home site. We should have gone into a away site. Wouldn't have been lined up with the Texas game. We'd have been fine.
Character building year is all I look at it as.
That's
Yeah,
right.
hey,
Lesson
I'm
learned.
taking, these guys missed it 3 years in a row. I didn't know that until we got on this show, so that's helpful for me. I want to ask about match play, because I think a lot of the mid-ams and many that listen to our show, they're, getting there is sweet. Any USGA championship, you're in the point whatever percent, it's such an honor to be there. But match play is the real goal in my eyes, because getting able to, get to the round of whatever it is, I don't even know, but you're getting that first round and you're playing match play against another team. Tell me about some of your guys' favorite matches. I know for 2 in particular that win extra holes. What is it like to all this of us that haven't been in that head-to-head scenario in a USGA championship? What is that like?
I think it's the coolest thing you can do. It is so fun because you have to remind yourself you're enjoying it, but you're so locked in and competitive. I think it's one of the coolest, if not the coolest experience you can do from a tournament play standpoint.
Yeah, totally agree. And just from a momentum too, you're so up and down throughout the course of the matches. You get on these runs where you've got them by a couple holes, and then the next thing you know, you're back to square through like 8, and you're like, how did that just happen? It is so fun. I think was it last year, Lark, in Plainfield? We were down with like 2 or 3, down like 2 with like.
Down 2 with 2 to go.
Yeah, and we came back. Larkin made an absolute bomb. I think it was like 60 feet or something on one hole.
I'm still yelling from it going in. It was so awesome.
So there's things like that that don't happen in stroke play, because other than, call out the final round, if it's in the second round, it doesn't really matter. Match play is 18 holes straight up, you win or you lose, or you go to extra holes. So there's stuff like that and emotions play into it. I'll be lying if I wouldn't say that there's not some gamesmanship or things that you do in your head to try and give yourself some form of an advantage. So that doesn't happen when you're just like, all right, we're paired together the next 2 days, boys. Then they cut. This is just stroke play.
Yeah. It's also a wild dynamic from my perspective. Like, we're talking earlier about trying to keep it like as even keeled as possible. But like, your emotions start to run high. Like, you hit a good shot and you're high-fiving your caddy or your partner and you're like, let's go. Or conversely, you get, the match flipped on you and you like, it's easy to get down quickly. And I think that's one of the best things that Zach and I do as a team. Like, we were 2 down with 2 to go last year in a match. We were 3 down through 8 this year in our quarterfinal match. So like, we know that we can flip the momentum so quickly, and all it takes is 1 or 2, good putts, good shots, whatever. And you can almost like in match play, you can feel that momentum change. Like, you might be 2 down through 9 and you're like, oh, we got them right where we want them. And it's like, where else will you be excited to be 2 down at the turn? But you can just you can feel it. And the more you do it, the more experience you get and the better I think you get at it, of like how to rein in those emotions when you need to. But also, to Zach's point, from a gamesmanship standpoint, like, how do you let them out a little bit when you need to use it to your advantage?
It's the more match play you play too, you can almost sense when the momentum is switching a little bit. And so that's when I think, like, from a strategy standpoint, you either buckle down and you're like, hey, this is our chance. The door's just creeped open. And then you can watch them. I'm not going to say spiral, but you just don't see them in the same way. And you're like, all right, now we got to go.
The energy I hear you on, just again, why I love match play so much. And I just think it's a far superior form of golf. And I got to dig in. Can you give us a gamemanship tip? Something y'all do? I mean, something that you're okay letting the secret out of the bag that you do when you're on the course to maybe tinker with someone else. Is it the change in the pocket? Is it the slow walk and just taking a little extra lap around the green or the tee box before you peg it? What's one that maybe you can let out of the bag? Keep your big gun secret. But.
Yeah, keeping the big guns quiet. For me, I love to get out in front. Like, regardless of who has the tee or who doesn't, I'm always like, I want to be the first one off the box and I want to get out there and walk fast. And then if the guys we're playing against start to pick up on that, then I'll just drop back and be way behind and say, like, okay, well, I don't need to be out first. So like, we almost try to mix up the pace a little bit. Like, I'm all for trying to get as far out as possible no matter what, just to be like, I'm the first one out, you're coming to get us.
Yeah, I definitely picked up what that came from. I think Larkin brought that up at college too, and like, I've kind of applied that too. I would say I'm inherently a pretty big talker, which some people don't like, and I think I will not name names, but it was pretty evident this year. And so I think when you pick up on somebody that doesn't like to talk, I tend to try and hammer down on that, and I'm like, I'll talk all day long.
Talk to this tree if I got to talk to something.
I was about to say. And so just doing stuff like that, like, all respectfully, right?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
You don't want to cross a line and do something that, especially in an amateur forum, like, we all love this game and it's a gentleman's game too. But, there's certain things where you can, hey, somebody's veering off to the right over towards the woods and wants to walk. I may just kind of go see what's going on over there and ask a couple questions while we're walking down the fairway.
Well, yeah, you want to know about their family and their career path and like what investments they're getting into. You're just an inquisitive person. You just want to learn about them.
I was born with crippling ADHD. It's just it's something I can't control. Sorry about it.
I have a doctor's note.
And just for the record, obviously, nothing is malicious. And it's like funny. It's like sometimes we'll be talking to guys. Even this year, we talked to a bunch of guys during matches, and we're like, these guys are awesome. Like, they're great guys. Like, it's just so like you're also still like enjoying it and having fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's definitely a few subtleties in there without, like, we never cross a line, but there's stuff you can flirt with a little bit just to help yourself out.
It allows golf to be like other sports too, where it's much more of a shared experience, right? Like just what we're saying here is like that stuff happens in basketball games and soccer games all the
Hmm.
freaking time, and it's not malicious, like you said, Jack, but it's just a part of, I feel like individual golf just allows us to isolate so much easier. It almost rewards it. Whereas team golf match play, it's like you got to be observant. You have to interact in some way, and gamesmanship becomes like a normal extension of that. That makes it kind of fun, And yeah, I love that. I have one last question. I know we don't want to keep you guys. I could be talking to you all day. Professor, can I hit him with just one more? You got anything?
Go for it. Take us home.
I just think that this is so cool because most of our listeners, there's many listeners that just like the professor and I are aspiring to play in US Four-Balls, but many of our listeners are not elite amateur golfers, but they do play competitively. That is a commonality about our audience. And what I mean by that is it might just be their club golf at their local club. It might be, a county AM or doing something like New Club where we play matches all the time. But I see a lot of people, golfers, and honestly, particularly in the Southeast, fellas, is there's a resistance to the team formats, the team golf. And even when we play something like Four-Ball, people are mentally approaching it as I'm playing an individual ball, I'm posting my number, and I'm playing my score, and then, it's just a part of that Four-Ball team score, which kind of loses the plot entirely, in my opinion. And so like I know there's so much enjoyment, and I can hear it. Just you guys talking about your experiences, that it's not just about winning. Yes, we're all competitors, but it's embracing that team format, embracing match play, maybe. And so my last question is kind of for your enjoyment of the game of golf, your guys' love of the game of golf. Like, how has the team game of golf helped you appreciate that versus, playing as an individual? Because what I always am trying to explain to folks is give it a try. Like really embrace this Four-Ball format with a partner and go at it. You're going to have a good time versus worrying about your handicap or your score or whatever.
I mean, it's a great question.
Lark.
Personally, I just come to realize it's so much more fun. Zach and I could go play an individual stroke play around together, but we're not going to feed off each other. We're not going to vibe with each other as much. Like, we're not going to be as excited when the other person has a good shot or a good putt. Like, it just makes the game so much more enjoyable and so much more fun. Where, I mean, like we've harped on, you don't have to be perfect. I can't tell you how great it is of a feeling when you pick up your 6-footer for par because your partner knocks in a 12-footer for birdie. Like, that's awesome. Like, it just makes it so much more enjoyable, so much more fun. And from like a conversation standpoint, we always joke, it's like, you don't want to be the guy after the round that's telling everybody about your round, but it's so much more fun to be able to talk with your partner about y'all's round together, as opposed to saying like, here's what I did, here's what I did, here's what I did. It's like, remember your shot on 6, remember your putt on 12.
Yeah, I mean, you can harp. It is just more. It's so simple, but it is just more fun. But there's strength in numbers too, right? Like, very rarely in golf now are there two people working towards a common goal. Like, it's inherently mainly an individual game, whether that's playing in your club championship or trying to qualify for the US Amateur. Like, it's on you. So when you get, one of your best friends or whoever it is that you're playing with and you're in the thick of it together, kind of, quote unquote, in the battle, like, it is so fun to pick each other up, feed off of each other, but also like, hey, we're in this together. Like, we're all trying to get to the end goal of winning this just one match. Yes, there are, I don't know how many matches, 6 matches or whatever it is. But in match play, all you do is focus on one because there's nothing else you can do after that. So when you're together and bantering and doing that and picking each other up, or there's something that gives you a little bit more confidence too when, I hit it in the crap and Larkin makes birdie and vice versa. Like, that's fun together too, because very rarely am I like clapping and super happy after I hit it out of bounds and we walk away with 3. I mean, what other format can you hit one out of bounds and on your scorecard together you go, that's a circle, thanks for coming.
Amen. I can't add anything else to those answers, man. That is just such a awakening. I think a lot of people have yet to experience, and I hope more people do, the team game. Well, fellas, we'll let you get back to the day jobs. Thank you for joining us this morning. And Professor, tremendous booking. I look forward to meet you guys in person. Jack, I think we've met. Zach, I'm not sure, but I'd love to tee it up and play with you guys and learn firsthand, what it takes. And thanks everybody for listening to the show. If you're not a subscriber to the Backdrop, please join us. Subscribe, hit the like, rate, review, all the stuff in front of you. And thanks for supporting the Backdrop, making golf more meaningful for all of us who love it. If you want to connect with the professor and I or any of our guests, we always put handles and links in the show notes. And shout out to Brad Malik, a member who's helping us produce these episodes. We're trying to step up the listening experience for everybody. So thank you to him. And the Backdrop and New Club Golf Society are in partnership with Titleist, the #1 ball in golf, and they're all new alignment golf balls. Check out the new alignment golf balls they have over at Titleist.com. We'll catch you guys on the next one.